So, what if I told you that one of the secrets to incredible success wasn't just about grinding and hustling, but also about being, well, a little bit delusional? Today, we're diving into a really powerful cognitive bias that shapes our entire lives and how, weirdly enough, being just a little bit wrong about yourself might actually be a superpower.
It all kind of starts with a headline like this one, which you might remember went totally viral during the pandemic. Now, the huge gap between those two numbers, it's not just funny, it brilliantly illustrates this fundamental quirk in how we see the world and maybe more importantly, our own role in it.
And this isn't just about who does more chores, right? This points to a much bigger, almost mathematical issue in the way we think. It's what some researchers have called the 140% problem. And of course, psychologists have a name for it. It's called egocentric bias. It's this natural, very human tendency we all have to overstate what we bring to the table in any kind of shared effort, whether that's writing a big academic paper or just, keeping the house from falling apart. So, where in the world does a number like 140% even come from? Well, when researchers went and asked authors who had co-written academic papers what percentage of the work they each did, the individual claims they added up to an average total of 140%, a mathematical impossibility. So, what's going on here? It's not necessarily about ego or being selfish. It's really all about memory and perspective. You are the star of your own movie, right? You see and feel 100% of your own effort, your own struggles. But you only ever see a tiny fraction of what everyone else is doing. And get this bias is so powerful, we even tend to overestimate our own role in starting arguments. But here's where it gets really interesting. This egocentric bias doesn't just make us overvalue our work, it also makes us almost completely blind to one of the most powerful, invisible forces shaping our success: pure, simple luck.
Okay, take professional hockey players. If you ask them for the secret to their success, you're going to hear all about hard work, early mornings, and determination. What they probably won't mention is their birthday. And yet, look at this chart. A whopping 40% of elite players are born in the first 3 months of the year, compared to just 10% in the last 3 months. How is that possible?
Well, here's how that tiny initial piece of luck works. The cutoff date for kids' hockey leagues is January 1st. So a kid born in January is playing against kids who might be almost a whole year younger. At that age, they're bigger, they're faster, so they get picked for the better teams, then they get the better coaching, more practice time on the ice, and that tiny lucky advantage just snowballs, year after year after year.
But that's just one example, right? The single most significant piece of luck for so many of us is simply where we happen to be born. In fact, about half, that's 50% of the difference in income people earn around the world can be explained simply by their country of residence.
Now, this usually leads to this big debate. Is success all about skill, or is it all about luck? People feel like it has to be one or the other. If you say luck played a role, it can feel like you're trying to diminish someone's hard work. But the reality is so much more interesting than that. The truth is, you absolutely need both. It's not one or the other. In a study of 8 different track and field world records, researchers found that 7 of them, 7, were set with the help of a lucky tailwind. The skill gets these world-class athletes to the starting line, but that little bit of luck is often what pushes them right into the history books. And the importance of luck gets even bigger when the competition gets fiercer. Just look at NASA's astronaut selection. You have over 18,000 brilliant people applying, and only 11 get chosen. So in a simulation, let's be generous. Let's say success is 95% skill and just a tiny 5% luck. How many of those 11 who were chosen would have gotten in on skill alone? On average, just 1.6. Let that sink in. That means with luck playing just a 5% role, 9 or 10 of the astronauts who actually made it would have been different people. When the talent pool is that deep, luck isn't some minor factor. It's often the deciding one. So, if luck is so incredibly critical, why don't we see it? And maybe more importantly, what happens when successful people, the ones with power and influence, start to believe it was all them? This is a classic case of something called survivor bias. See, successful people have worked hard, and for them, it paid off. So when they look at the world, it seems like a fair and just place that rewards effort. But what they don't see are the millions of other people who also worked incredibly hard, but failed simply because they didn't catch that same lucky break. And this feeling of being deserving, it can set in remarkably fast. In a famous experiment, researchers put people into groups of 3 and randomly assigned one person to be the leader. A little later, an experimenter brought in a plate with 4 cookies. Now, who do you think took that extra cookie? Yep, almost every single time it was the randomly assigned leader. Even completely unearned status creates this powerful sense of entitlement. This sense of deserving doesn't just apply to cookies, it really affects our real-world behavior. In another study, researchers asked people to think about a good thing that happened to them. They told one group to list all the personal actions they took to make it happen, and they told the other group to list all the external factors, the lucky breaks. Then, at the end, they were offered a chance to donate their payment for the study to charity. The result was pretty striking. The group that was primed to focus on their own personal role, they donated 25% less money. It seems the more we credit ourselves for our success, the less generous we tend to become. Okay, but here it is. Here is the massive, massive twist in this entire story. This delusion, this exact tendency to ignore luck and overestimate our own control, can actually be a key ingredient for success. It can be a superpower. So why is that? Why would being wrong be helpful? Well, because to achieve truly incredible things often requires a borderline obsessive level of effort. And if you truly believe that the outcome is mostly just luck or chance, why would you ever make that kind of sacrifice? That delusion of control, it's a powerful psychological fuel. So, as you can see, it's a real double-edged sword. On one hand, this mindset fuels incredible ambition and effort. But on the other, it also makes it much easier to justify your high status in society and to see inequality as a deserved outcome rather than, at least in part, a product of circumstance. So, where does that leave us? What's the takeaway here? How are we supposed to navigate a world that is so clearly shaped by both immense effort and just random chance? Well, the good news is there are huge personal benefits to just seeing the world a little more clearly. Studies show that when you acknowledge your good fortune, it actually makes other people like you more. It increases your own personal happiness by fostering a sense of gratitude, and, well, it simply brings your worldview more in line with the way things really are. So it all comes down to this kind of paradoxical piece of advice. To succeed, you should probably act as if you were in complete control of your own destiny. But at the same time, you have to know, deep down, that it isn't completely true, not for you and not for anyone else. And then, if you do achieve that success, the most important step of all is to remember the role that good fortune played and do whatever you can to increase the luck of others.